So we move over to support to phases of excavation, stating the maximum depth, which is 1.2. In this case, we are looking at supporting the phases of excavation for the column base. We are considering the column base type 1 and column base type 2. So in that case, we are looking at the four side. Remember that the first column base, which is base 1, is a square base, so the length and the width are the same, so that's why we have 2.00. Since the size is 2000 millimeter by 2000 millimeter, as you can see from B1, 2000 millimeter by 2000 millimeter, so in meter you have it 2.00. and since we have four sides, which is 1, 2, 3 and 4, we slash by 4, and this particular column appears in this building in 11 places. If you count it, you will find out that you have column base 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 and 11. That's why we are slashing by this figure 11. So this 1.2 is the depth of the pit excavation, which we have established before now. So we do the same for base 2, but in this base 2 it's a rectangular base whereby the length is the size of the length is different from that of the width. So we treat them separately. This is the length, which is the size of the base, 30,500 millimeter. So we have two sides being equal. That's why we are slashing by 2. So we multiply by the depth of the excavation, the pit excavation. So we slash by 4, which is the number of the bases. That is for base 2, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So that's why we slash by 2. So the other side, which is the width of that base, is 2 meter wide. So we also book it separately. You can see that we decided to separate the two sides of the base because they are not equal, unlike here that we only pick one side and multiply by the number of sides. Mind you, we have to deduct the intersection. There's the point of intersection between the column bases and the trench line. For base 1, we have about 32 intersections. For base 2, we have about 4 intersections. Let's use this base 2 for example. If you come to base 2, these are the base 2 we have, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So if you look at the intersection between this double wall and the base 2, you have 1, 2, 3 and 4 intersections. So we deduct the width of that very trench line within that intersection. So in that case, the width of this double wall is 925 millimeter. So we will deduct 0.93 by 1.2. That is, this 1.2 is the depth of pit excavation. So we slash by 4. This 4 is the number of intersection at that point between the trench and base. So the next thing we do is to consider our filling to make up level. So the first thing, we determine or establish the thickness of earth filling. So how do we do that? From our session, we've been given this detail, but there's no provision for the thickness of earth filling, which is the bed of laterite filling. Already we have 200 mm for hardcore filling. So judging from what we have, from this point, which is the natural ground level, up to the concrete bed is 600. So with this 600, we can deduct all these figures to arrive at the thickness of the bed of laterite filling. So we have 600, we add our topsoil thickness, which is 150, that will give us 750. So we begin to less all these: 150 floor slab, 50 mm blinding, and 200 mm hardcore. These three figures gave us 400 mm. So when we deduct it for 400 from 750, we're going to have 350 mm as the thickness of our bed of laterite filling. So let's look at the plan to see the areas to be filled with laterite and hardcore. This is the building plan. So we're going to fill these empty spaces or this void with laterite and hardcore. So let's section this as section A, B, C, and D. So we will fill them individually or separately. So for this very section now, we're going to get the area to be filled. Later we multiply by the thickness of the laterite filling and that of the hardcore. So the area, you get it by adding this length, this dimension, 7,000 plus 5,000 plus 3,500. Once you get this, you deduct the wall thicknesses. You see your wall here, so you deduct the wall thicknesses on both sides, here and here. So at the end of the day, what you will arrive at will be 15,280, which is 15.28 meter as the length. Then your width is from here to this point. So how do you get this dimension of your width? You generate it from here. You have 5,250 and another 5,250. So if you add this together, you will be having 10,500. So you less your wall thickness here and the other. And so once you're done with this, you do the same, you repeat the same process for the section B, and of course section C and D. So once you are done, you go ahead to book your quantities, and that is what we have here for section A. You have 15.28 by 10.28, and you have B to be 5.78 and by 10.28, just like that. And because the filling with imported laterite is considered as a cubic item or work item, so that is why we will go ahead and multiply whatever area we have here, quantity we have here, with the thickness of the laterite filling, which has been given in the session. We have derived from our calculation to be 0.35. That's 350 millimeter, which is 0.35 meter. Then we also detail hardcore. Is the same process, the same quantity. The only difference is the thickness. For hardcore, the thickness is 200 millimeter, while for laterite it is 350 millimeter. So we detail hardcore, do the same thing we have done for laterite filling, for hardcore filling. So we multiply by 0.20 meter.